The Atlanta Braves lose a heartbreaker in extra innings to the Chicago Cubs on Wednesday and get another discouraging start from Charlie Morton. Can Kyle Wright help pick the Braves up off the mat and get their first series win of the year on Thursday? We'll cover all that on today's episode of Lockedon Braves. So let's get into it.
You are Locked On Braves, your daily Atlanta Braves podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, and welcome back to Locked On Braves, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta, where we cover your favorite teams every day. I am your host, Jake Mastroianni. You can follow me on Twitter at shortstopball. You can check out my bio there to see where I am covering the game of baseball, including the Atlanta Braves in written form over at tomahawktake.com. Also, make sure you follow the podcast on Twitter at lockedon_Braves, where you can submit in any questions, comments, feedback for the show. And I do take all of those into consideration and read all of those comments on Twitter. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcast. Subscribe to us on YouTube as well. Really do appreciate all the support on the show. And thanks for making Locked On Braves your first listen each and every day, whether that be on your drive to work, during lunch, your lunch break, or on your way home. Really do appreciate it. Again, we post episodes daily, 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. Before we get into today's podcast, this episode is brought to you by Blue Nile. This Mother's Day, give mom something she'll treasure forever with fine jewelry from BlueNile.com. And Locked On Sports listeners get $50 off $500 spent when you use the promo code LOCKEDON at checkout. On today's episode, we talk about Charlie Morton's third straight bad start and whether or not there's reason to worry there. Tylermatic getting hit around pretty hard. Are there some concerns there as well? Dansby Swanson bringing back some of the clutch. And what was an exciting moment in Wednesday's game. And come on, Kyle Wright, please help us get this series win. So a break in the action here as I just finished recording and saw the news about Ronald Acuna Jr. So I wanted to jump back in here and update you on that. Ronald Acuna Jr. is back. He has been activated for the Atlanta Braves, and they designated Alex Dickerson for assignment, which is interesting in itself. But Ronald Acuna Jr. is back. He will be in the lineup on Thursday as the Braves try to go for their first series win. I'm so pumped for Ronald. He keeps saying he's ready. We were all a little suspicious after he played 9 innings on a Wednesday when he was only scheduled for 7. So he will be back with the Atlanta Braves. Hopefully he can spark this offense and get them going. I mentioned a little surprising that they designated Alex Dickerson for assignment here, as they are already short on left-handed bats with Eddie Rosario out. But again, it makes sense. I don't really know who else you were going to move off the roster right now. I'm glad it wasn't Travis Demeritte. I'm glad they didn't send him back. But the Braves certainly are very void of left-handed bats right now, other than Matt Olson. But who cares about that right now? Ronald Acuna Jr. is back. I'm so pumped, so excited. Can't wait to have him back in the lineup and see what he can do with this Braves team. And hopefully, like I said, he can get this offense going atop the lineup. So Ronald Acuna is back. That is your update. So just wanted to jump in real quickly to update you on that news. Well, let's start with Wednesday's action. The Braves lose 6-3 in 10 innings to the Chicago Cubs, a game that looked pretty dreadful for about the first 7+ innings. And then the Braves bats broke out in the bottom of the 8th to tie it up. Big hit by Dansby Swanson. And then they went into extra innings, which have not been kind to the Atlanta Braves with the new extra inning rule, starting out with the runner at second base. Don't know whether that has anything to do with it or not, but the Braves certainly have not done well with that new rule, and they lose 6-3 in 10 innings. But this was Charlie Morton's third straight rough outing, and it's a bit discouraging for sure when this is your guy who you're counting on to be, one of your aces atop the rotation. somebody who can stop a losing streak, somebody that can continue a winning streak and build up wins against teams that you should be beating, like the Chicago Cubs. And it's discouraging. It's 3 straight starts now, and it's a start that in a game that the Braves should have won with Charlie Morton on the mound against the pitching that the Cubs were throwing out there. This is a game, and look, I guaranteed it, and I'm done guaranteeing games at this point. I'm done making predictions, and this is why you can't predict baseball. But this was a game on paper the Braves should have won, and they just didn't. And it wasn't all Charlie Morton. There wasn't a ton of offense from the Braves side. They squandered a lot of opportunities, which we'll discuss a little bit later in the podcast. But focusing in on Charlie Morton, he only lasted 2 1/3 innings in this one, gave up 3 earned runs on 4 hits and 4 walks with just 1 strikeout and 70 pitches. And look, this Cubs team, they fight and they don't strike out a lot. They're a tough lineup. They'll put the ball in play. They foul off a lot of tough pitches, which they did against Charlie and racked up that pitch count. That being said, I mean, again, this is Charlie Morton we're talking about. He should have been able to breeze through this lineup and get through 5 innings, 2 earned or less. This should have been an easy go of things for him, but I think it just points to the fact that Charlie is not all the way back yet. And we discussed this on the postcast, me and Grant McCauley. It's maybe a little bit foolish to think that after what he went through in the World Series and suffering a pretty traumatic injury, to just expect him to come back and right away be the Charlie Morton that we are accustomed to seeing. And I think we got a little teased because he was so good in that first start, but I think we're starting to see, signs of rust, still trying to figure things out. I'm not concerned necessarily about Charlie Morton. It is discouraging for him to have 3 straight bad starts like this. But I'm not concerned because the velocity is there, the pitch movement is there. It's just he's missing with his command, and that'll come again. I think he'll be able to come around on that. Whether it's a minor, mechanical adjustment that he needs to make, whatever it may be, he's just off missing with his pitches a little bit right now. And once he gets that under control, he'll be the Charlie Morton that we're used to seeing. He's just not there right now. He's walked 10 batters in his last 3 games. That's 10 walks and 12 2/3 innings. That's not Charlie Morton. So that just tells you that the command is off. He doesn't quite have the feeling back for those pitches. And once he gets that going, he'll be fine. But until then, we don't know what we're going to get from Charlie Morton every 5th day, when before you felt like he's one of the guys you could count on every 5th day to give you 5, 6 good innings. And we just can't expect that right now until he gets better command of his pitches. And then Tylermatic, I wanted to bring this up as well, and actually had a listener who hit me up on Twitter to call this out to my attention. And I apologize, I didn't get the person's name before I jumped on the podcast. So it's EVV on Twitter. And he had brought up the fact that Tylermatic's velocity was down, which I hadn't really paid much attention to, but it is. He's more so, 94, 95 right now instead of 96, 97. Overall, his fastball average is down, a mile per hour. Not a huge difference, and something I think we see from some pitchers earlier in the year until they get, fully stretched out and into the groove of things. But I think the bigger concern for me is that he's getting hit really hard. He is in the 10th percentile as far as hard hit rate and average exit velocity against. He is getting hit extremely hard. And I mentioned it on Tuesday's game as well. Even in the outing, he didn't give up any runs, but he gave up some hard hit balls in that outing. And with the low velocity and the fact that he's getting hit hard, that is a bit concerning for me. We're talking about who am I more concerned about right now, Tylermatic or Charlie Morton? I'm more concerned about Tylermatic, and it's not a heightened concern, certainly, but I think it's something worth monitoring at this point with the velo being down, with him getting hit hard. You look at the home run that he gave up in the 10th inning. It was 94 miles per hour right down the pipe, and Patrick Wisdom just crushed that ball, and Wilson Contreras had crushed a fastball earlier in that inning. So he's getting hit extremely hard. The velocity is down. Again, it's not a panic level concern for me, but I think it is something worth watching going forward if his velocity continues to stay down and he continues to get hard like he is right now. But it was a rough outing for him on Wednesday for sure, and it was back-to-back outings as well. So got to keep that in mind, and I think there's possibly a little bit of fatigue from the postseason. Look, he pitched a lot of high-stress, meaningful innings in that postseason. It would be understandable if he's still a little fatigued from that to begin this season. And not trying to make excuses, I just want to bring it to your attention so that you are aware, something that you can keep an eye out on as well whenever Tylermatic comes into the game. The rest of the arms in the Braves bullpen were really good. Look, Chavez came in in the third inning for Charlie Morton, worked an inning and 2/3 scoreless. McHugh gave up a couple of hits, but kept the Cubs scoreless over 2 innings. Minter and William Woods both walked a batter, but again, kept the Cubs off the board, gave the Braves offense a chance to come back. This is William Woods' big league debut, by the way. Got his first strikeout, so great to see there. Could be another valuable asset in the bullpen, whether it be this year or down the road. I think he certainly becomes a big part of that bullpen. And then Jansen continued his brilliance. Overall, before Matzik came in, the bullpen, 6 innings, 4 hits, 2 walks, no earned, and 7 strikeouts. Or 6 2/3 innings, 4 hits, 2 walks, no earned, and 7 strikeouts. So very good stuff out of the bullpen, like I said, until that 10th inning when Tylermatic gave up the 3 runs. So great job by them keeping the offense in the game, giving them a chance to come back. Speaking of the offense, they had some heroics, also continued to struggle with runners in scoring position. We'll discuss that next. Whether she prefers a statement piece or everyday subtle elegance, BlueNile.com has fine jewelry options for every mom. Shop high-quality classic diamond earrings, elegant tennis bracelets, or gemstone pendant necklaces. If you're looking for fine jewelry but having trouble choosing, Blue Nile has jewelry experts on hand 24/7, available via phone or chat to help you find a memorable gift at every budget. If you're celebrating that special woman in your life, on BlueNile.com, you can easily navigate thousands of fine jewelry options at every price point. This Mother's Day, give mom something she'll treasure forever with fine jewelry from BlueNile.com. And Locked On Sports listeners get $50 off $500 spent. This podcast exclusive is only good through Mother's Day. Use code LOCKEDON. That's code LOCKEDON. Plus, every order is insured, ships free, and arrives in discreet packaging that won't give away what's inside. Shop stress-free and find your forever piece. Go to BlueNile.com today. The Atlanta Braves offense continues to struggle to put runs on the board. Scored 3 runs in each of the first 2 games against the Cubs, a pitching staff that was one of the worst in the league. It's at least their starting pitching coming into the series. They came off a series against the Marlins. They faced their 3 worst starters. Now the Marlins staff is still pretty good. It's pretty deep, but struggle to score runs there. And really struggling with runners on base in particular. 2 for 13 with 11 runners left on base in Wednesday's game. That is tough. They're getting opportunities, which is great. It's really the same storyline we saw last year, and I hate to keep bringing back last year as an example, but this is really the same team we saw for 3 or 4 months of the season last year that just was getting opportunities, getting runners on base, but not coming through. And part of that for me is this offense is built on the home run. For better or worse, they're built on the home run. They're home run dependent. Over 50% of their runs scored on home runs. And when those aren't coming, this offense has trouble stringing hits together and scoring runs that way. And whether it's the baseball or whatever it may be, they're just not getting that right now. And when they're sitting there waiting on the 2-run homer, waiting on the 3-run homer, and not able to string hits together, this offense is going to struggle. And look, I looked back at last April's numbers. The Braves led the league last April with 38 home runs in 26 games. That's 1.46 home runs per game. This year, obviously a smaller sample size in April, and April's not even completed yet. This year, they're fourth in the league in home runs with 21 in 19 games. That's 1.11 home runs per game. So home runs are down a little bit as far as the Braves go. The Blue Jays lead the league with 1.37 home runs per game. So, that's just about on par with where the Braves were last year when they led the league in home runs. But again, when you're so reliant on it, and look, they just won a World Series with this type of offense, so they can succeed with it. But when they're not coming, this is the type of offense you're going to get. You're going to get an offense that is struggling with runners in scoring position, is struggling to put up big runs each and every night. And I think the home runs will come, especially as the air warms up. I think we'll see more home runs as we typically do in the summer times, but it's a struggle right now because you have a lot of guys with low on-base percentages and the team struggling with runners in scoring position, just not consistency up and down the lineup. Ozzie had a rough night at the plate on Wednesday. He was over 5 and left 5 on base. Nothing hit hard. Just a really, really poor performance from Ozzie Albies. I am looking forward to getting him out of that leadoff spot. Not that this necessarily would have changed anything on Wednesday night, but that's just not a spot that's meant for him. I don't think he feels comfortable there, and I just want Ronald back in that spot anyway. And I want Ozzie in the 5th, 6th spot. I've been very outspoken about that. I think that's where he belongs, but I understand why Snicker's putting him there now. Honestly, would even consider putting Matt Olson in the leadoff spot just to have somebody at the top to get on base. And when these guys at the bottom do get on, then you have an RBI chance for Matt Olson, because the bottom of the order did their job on Wednesday. Dickerson and Duvall each had 2 hits. Dansby got on base twice. Demerit had a walk, and he hit the ball hard all 3 times. So bottom of the lineup starting to pick things up a little bit, but I'm waiting for Ronald to come back. He's just going to be such a big, huge boost at the top of that lineup. Marcell Ozuna has cooled off as well. He had an 0 for 5 night, left 4 on base. He's just 7 for his last 38. That's a 184 batting average with 2 walks and 10 strikeouts over his last 10 games. So he has cooled off significantly as well. I mentioned the comeback in that 8th inning, which was a lot of fun for a game that was not much fun for 7 innings, had me jumping out of my seat. And again, it was the bottom of the order that got it done in that 8th inning. With 2 outs, Dickerson poked the ball the other way for a single. Duvall got a line drive single to left that just got down. Demerit took a really good walk. And again, for a young hitter to be that patient in that spot just shows where Demerit's game has come. And then Dansby worked a 3-2 count before going the other way to tie it up on a ball hit 104.4 miles per hour. Again, I know Dansby had the one at bat that everybody pointed out in the game where he just took 3 fastballs down the middle. I don't know what that's about, but still, I thought it was some positive signs for Dansby, and him getting that hit in the 8th inning certainly is huge for his confidence going forward. He's 5 for 13 on the homestand. That's a 385 average and a small sample size with 2 walks. Does still have 6 strikeouts. That's still a problem, but that is unfortunately just part of his game right now. But I think we still are seeing some encouraging signs on the homestand. And Travis Demerit continues to look good as well. Had exit velocities of 93.6, 101.6, and 101.4 in this game. Cubs first baseman robbed him of at least a single, if not a double, in that game. So he had some bad luck as well. And, he and Dansby also teamed up for an outfield assist. You had a good throw from Demerit to the cutoff man, Dansby, and they cut off, threw out the runner at third base. So some more defensive highlights as well coming from the outfield in this one. All right, next, we want to turn the page to Thursday's game. We'll have Kyle Wright on the mound against old friend Drew Smiley as the Atlanta Braves try to get their first series win of the year. BetOnline.net is your number one source for all your betting stats and sports info. Find all the latest sports developments, league reviews, and news, including this year's NBA playoffs and the start of Major League Baseball season. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sport wagering information, from live betting to playoffs, esports, and more. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action. Bet online, where the game starts. On Thursday, we have Drew Smyly versus Kyle Wright. Braves should be very familiar with Drew Smyly, fastball, curveball, and cutter. For me, the key against Smyly, sit on that 92-mile-per-hour fastball. Batters hit 329 against it last year. They're hitting 273 against it so far this year. He hasn't been getting squared up a lot this year. You got to lay off that curveball that he's throwing a bit more. And again, just sit on that fastball. He's also not walking a ton of batters. So once again, Braves hitters, if you're listening, be aggressive, hunt that fastball early in counts, lay off that curveball. And I think the Braves offense will be just fine on Thursday. As for Kyle Wright, he's got to be aggressive in the zone as he has been for most of the year, but you can't hunt the strikeouts in this one. I know he's had big strikeout numbers in his last two starts. You got to be aggressive in the zone. This is the Cubs team that does not strike out a lot. They're not afraid to work deep counts, foul off pitches. If Wright is going to stay in this game long, he has to pitch to contact, be in the strike zone, and the Braves need him to go deep after taxing the bullpen in the first two games. Matzik unavailable, Jansen likely unavailable. You're looking at Will Smith probably for a save opportunity in this game. Let's hope the offense puts up a ton of runs and we don't have to worry too much about the bullpen. But I think it is important for Kyle Wright to go deep, to pitch to contact in this game, and to just do what he's been doing through the first three starts of the season. So looking forward to see what Kyle Wright can do and hopefully get a win for the Braves. And then finally, a Ronald Acuna Jr. update. He ended up playing all 9 games on Wednesday, which is significant because he was only scheduled to play 7 games on Wednesday. We'll see if they flip that and he plays all 9 again, or if he just plays 7 on Thursday. He was 2 for 5 with 2 strikeouts on Wednesday. Maybe if he plays all 9 on Thursday and feels good, they ship him out to Texas for that series. I still think they wait and bring him back for New York on Monday. But he continues to say, he's ready whenever they call. And like I keep saying, please just call the man. I'm ready to see him play. I want to see him at the top of this lineup, see if he can get this offense going for the Braves. That will do it for this episode of Lockedon Braves. Be sure to follow me on Twitter at shortstopball. Follow the podcast at Lockedon_Braves. Subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcast, and we will talk to you next time.